Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm trading the ES futures on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I've got my overnight highs up here and the overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. So I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. So in the pre-market, we had this downtrend forming here. We break. Now, when a downtrend gets a break, you can expect prices to attempt to make a new low. That's how downtrends play out. And so if you get below the EMA here, what you'd want to see is a failed second entry. So you want to see two legs down, so that'd be a second entry long. The longs pile up on the second entry, and then you enter on the failure. And so, unfortunately, we don't. That doesn't happen though. But there is a possibility for a long though if the EMA actually holds to the upside. And so if you have a breakout and then two clear attempts at a new low, but this EMA holds, then you can look to go long because that would be two attempts failing. And so rather than getting below and then looking to get in on making a new low, you're looking to enter on the failure of making a new low, because if price fails in an attempt to do something, it's likely to go very strong in the other direction. It's not going to just chop around all day. So anyway, we have downtrend, break. We don't get those attempts. We get these two small attempts at a new low there. That's way too small picture. We just continue up higher. We start going into this range right here. Unfortunately, there's nothing closing down close enough to these lows that have room to the highs, so we just got to stay out of it. We continue higher here. We can see these two legs right here. And when we got up to this overnight high, right at this measured move, I was hoping that we would get like a nice reversal pattern. So a failed second entry below the EMA. This would be the perfect area to see that. But, we just have one tick lower and no reversal pattern forms. So we continue on higher here. We get these small corrections here that don't reach anything. And then finally we get these corrections here. First entry long, second entry long off the EMA. Now, it did barely start to close out of this channel here, but it did end up pushing back up, so it is holding. And so I like this for 1-to-1. It's a clear second entry long off these lows. And so on a, like I say, price action levels get bigger as more time goes on. And so this is a pretty small picture, but you can still see two attempts to fade this overnight level here, because when price breaks out, you can expect price to attempt to fade, except it's staying within that channel. And so I like how it's off the key entry point. It's holding on the EMA, and it almost looks like a trap bar. It just ticked lower and just shot higher very strong. And so I like that for 1-to-1. Now that it did just tap my target at first, and it did correct pretty far back against me here. And so when we bounced up here, I wasn't too worried. I was even expecting a possible another attempt down here, because this push out right here was a clear push out of this channel. We had a small push out right there, but that's basically holding. This is much more clear. And so how it'll often go is two-legged breaks, because kind of like how when an uptrend has a break and you can expect prices to make a new high, you'll often get it on the second attempt at a new high, and you'll need a two-legged break for that to actually form. To get that to enter on that second attempt, you'll need a two-legged break. And so I wouldn't have been surprised if we got another attempt down, which we did up here before reaching that target. We got a second attempt down here, which forms this failed second entry. And so I do like this entry. I didn't enter on it because I was still inside of this trade right here. And so when we were having the second attempt down here, my point is I wasn't too worried about that. And so when we got this failed second entry, that looked good. But like I said, I was already in this, so I didn't enter that. But we pushed on up. And so then we can see here, uptrend, break, a couple legs at a new high before we push back below the EMA. And so just notice how important trends playing out is. So even though, it's starting to get a little bit choppy, it's not super clear in this area here, but you can still see uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, and then immediately after that second attempt higher, you rush below the EMA. And I know it wasn't like a super strong reversal. We started pushing back up pretty quick, but it was holding on the EMA very well until you got those two attempts at a new high. Then you immediately reverse below. So I just wanted to point that out. These trends playing out is very important. So anyway, we make that new high. We rush back below. There's unfortunately no clear shorts in here. We just push on down. We get this small picture lower high right here, but it's, it just held onto the EMA right before. I would just want to see something actually form a reversal pattern, because this right here would be the perfect place for a reversal pattern. Uptrend playing out, but what ends up happening is we form this double bottom right here, and then at this point it's pretty clear we're going into this uptrend. So notice this blue uptrend right here where we have this bullish slant, and it's clear a trend line's holding. And so then here we have downtrend, break, attempt at a new low, and it's just one attempt at a new low, but this trend line is holding. I didn't like this first bar because it's as you can, it's just too close to this red bar. It's just a very sharp push down, and then you get a small green bar that doesn't even close perfectly. You could easily get trapped on something like that. So that's why I waited for this more significant, it's a better looking bullish bar. It's closing higher up, and it has more separation between that sharp down move. So like if I draw from here, you can see it's kind of half, it's like iffy if there's STT in it. It looks like it's kind of rejecting that trend line. So sometimes you just want to see more separation. So the EMA I wasn't too concerned about because so far it had just been up the whole time, and then we started chopping around through it. So I just stuck with the trend right there. So I did like that right there. And we push on up here. So here we make a new high again. We attempt to reverse right here. Now at this point, this range is pretty clear, and it doesn't hold at first. We break out and then we close below, and it has STT right there. STT meaning short-term trend line. So we have this trend line blocking it right there, and so you don't want to enter on that. But it's ultimately, one leg down. So the uptrend has a break, and like I say, price action levels get bigger as more time goes on. So what you're going to view this as now is after that break, those two attempts right there becomes one attempt, and then you can actually see that there's two attempts right here. Let me move these for a sec. So this uptrend break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher right there, eventually turned into uptrend break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher. And so notice, just like how you got those two attempts higher and then you got that reversal down, when you get a bigger two attempts higher, as more price action forms, you got a bigger reversal down. Notice how both times the reversal didn't last long, but each reversal is relative in size to those attempts at a new high. So I'll go through it one more time. Uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, then you get a small reversal right there. It doesn't last long. And then on a bigger picture, as more price action forms, those two legs become one leg. So you see uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, and then you get a bigger reversal. It doesn't last long, but it's relative in size to the attempts playing out that trend. So anyway, we push on up here. I believe this is where we were. Yeah. So we push on up here. I was hoping to get some kind of failed second entry above the EMA, but we don't get that. We just push on up to the other end of the range there. Let me draw you this. So we have this right here. Once again, if we could have gotten a good short with room to the lows down here, like some kind of lower high, then that would have been good, but we just don't get anything. Although I would want it to close out of this channel here. So a failed second entry would be the most ideal. And so anyway, at this point we have first leg up, break, second leg up, and you could get it could reverse down here. You could get a failed second entry to go short, but you just don't get that. It's starting to get more bullish anyway. You're getting this bounce, strong bounce above the overnight high, so that's telling you we're likely going into a trend. But at this point right here, it's still not too late to reverse down, but we just take off from there. And I don't like this long right here. It's just above this range right here. It's starting to form some kind of resistance, and then I just don't want to enter right into that. So I avoided that. Even though it's a failed second entry right there, I felt like it was forming some resistance right there, which you can see it reacted a little bit, but it did push on through. So anyway, we continue on higher here. We get these corrections, a small correction, don't reach the EMA, and then here we reach the EMA. It's just a first entry though, so there's nothing there to take because you want to see two legs back, not just one. And so anyway, we continue on higher, and then at this point we can start to see that there's some kind of uptrend right here, another possible uptrend. And so oh yes, and I do want to mention this right here. So I'm gonna unclutter this really quick because it's looking all jumbled up. So let me move that for a sec. We see this yellow uptrend starting to form. If we had gotten a clear entry off this, like we could have gotten clear two legs back off this. I do like this key entry point here, but we unfortunately didn't get that. And so we did start getting this trend line holding here. It's kind of an odd place to start a trend line. Usually you'd start it on a more significant swing like down here, and then you'd look up here, but clearly it did end up fitting. I adjusted it around a little bit, but I mean, we can tell that there's lows right there. So anyway, where was I? I keep getting ahead of myself. So Oh yeah, so anyway, at this point, once this swing takes off there, we can draw this trend line. And so at first it was more like this, it was like right off that green body, but as more price action formed, I eventually adjusted it to fit along with this, you know, clear uptrend right there. So anyway, at this point we have this push down, we bounce right here, and that's when I adjusted it to right there. And so then we have a second attempt down. So you can notice this first entry long, second entry long. Now, I don't like this trade right here because it's not quite off of any support. Because even though after it bounced, I kind of left it right here because it's clear that that's kind of, you know, it just fits better right there because you adjust the trend lines to where they fit best. But at the time, all we had to base it off of was these swings right here. So it basically just wasn't off of the support at that time. So I could not enter on that. So I skipped out on that. We push on up, and then we get this first entry long. It's just a first entry with a bad signal bar below the EMA. We push up again, and we have this leg down. We start getting choppy, and then we have that second leg down. And so then that made a double bottom with this down here. And so when you make a double bottom with this down here, you know, the uptrend just broke. So uptrend, let me adjust it to how I kept it at the end. We have uptrend, break. We can expect prices to attempt at a new high. So ideally you would see some kind of either high or low or failed second entry. Either one would be fine as long as it's set up good and you got a clear setup for it. But buying a double bottom inside of STT is not enough. Even after we push out of it there and it's closing out of the STT, this downtrend could attempt a new low, you know, and you could easily get this downtrend break, new low, and then on a big picture it would still just look like one leg down. So you'd basically be entering. There's a chance that you would be entering too early if you enter right there, but it does just keep pushing on higher here. But you can't just bet on every double bottom to work there because when you're forming a double bottom, it's not a confirmed level. When you if you have a double bottom already and then you're going in for a triple test, that's different because that's a confirmed key entry point. This is just assuming that it will make a double bottom there. So anyway, we continue on higher up here. We bounce off this high right there, and so what you could get from here is, because you only have one attempt higher there, so what you could get is a push down and then 2 attempts at breaking out and then failing, because that would go perfectly with this uptrend, because then you would have uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, failure. And so that's what you could get for a short, as long as it holds below the EMA and it's clearly holding on the range highs. So unfortunately we don't get that. We just get 2 legs up and then we attempt to reverse back down here. It is getting very bullish at this point. I'm going to look for a possible larger uptrend just to see how this fits. Could easily be in something like this. So we'll see how this trend line holds, I guess. If we get a 2 legs back holding right off this key entry point, I'll definitely look for a trade. We already have the 2 bounces. If it holds for a 3rd bounce, then yeah, I mean, we're going really bullish at this point. So yeah, anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helped out in some way. And I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching.